That's a direct impact of a vision and strong leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So I'm committed to addressing the inequities in our community, not just through grocery stores, but through community gardens and co-ops. And so I've already been doing the work, and I plan on expanding that work across the district as the new mayor of Washington, D.C. And so it's just not talking the talk, but as a leader, I walk the walk, and the evidence is in the community right now. And we're eating fresh produce right now, in which I went today. Got me a thing of oranges. You probably can't see it because of my background, right across the street at the Good Foods and Market. So we want to continue the leadership all across the district.
Councilmember Robert White.
Thank you. So the first thing that we have to do is make sure our residents in every part of the city actually have access to fresh foods and produce. So what I see too often, particularly in Ward 8, is communities that utilize their neighborhood store, their corner store as their primary grocery store. And when you go inside, you find foods that are not fresh and that are overpriced. And I see this too often. So the first thing we have to do is be pushing our local markets to get fresh food, and we can connect those dots with local produce. We have to make sure that we are not subjecting our city, particularly those who have the least, to price gouging. Because if folks are eating healthy, then we are preventing a lot of the diseases that we're spending so much money treating on the back end. The next thing I'm going to do is use technology to get fresh foods more quickly to people who are not near fresh foods, and particularly people who have mobility issues. So we're going to use technology to deliver food to those who need it as we build smaller brick and mortars.
Thank you. Commissioner Butler.
Thank you. One thing we have to do, very critically important, is get our communities moving. So engaging programs like Fit DC and also We Fit DC, that's important so that people that, face chronic diseases or the likelihood they live in an area where they may be subject to getting one of those, that they're moving. We know that exercise as well as eating is the cure to food as medicine actually working. Again, as your mayor, I will do what I've already done. I have delivered a surplus food sharing from Trader Joe's and Whole Foods over the course of the last 2 years to almost every senior home in the District of Columbia. That is bringing food that may be produce a day or two old, but still usable. It may be bringing ugly fruit and those sorts of things to seniors where they can have that fresh produce. In addition, as was said earlier, community gardens, that's going to be extremely important to me. I will do that. So that is the way we get food to really work as food as medicine.
So before we move on to the next question, we're just following up. Some of the candidates who've spoken have acknowledged the community gardens that already do exist. Could we elaborate on efforts to grow food, to encourage residents to grow their own food? And what a policy response might look like to that?
So where I would start is talking to residents who don't grow their food, to ask them what their barrier is, because there may be barriers that we can relieve. I know some folks who have community gardens have said, not having access to a restroom is preventative. For some folks, just getting there, transportation is preventative. So if we understand what the barriers are, we can pull down those barriers, and we can look at other lands that are not being fully utilized and utilize those as other community gardens to give more folks an opportunity.
In addition, one of the things we've done was actually fund a community garden right here in Ward 8, now known as the Wheeler Oxen Run, which was just a concept and a thought that was lingering for quite some time. We partnered with the local nonprofits, DC Green Scheme, and other organizations through the Ward 8 Health Council to bring this to fruition. When they fell short, we stepped up and put money into ensuring they had what they needed. And now we just did the ground opening last weekend. In addition, it's about education. We partner with the local schools to make sure Simon, Hart, and Baloo are part of the equation. We talk about growing resource in our community. We also have to acknowledge that here in Ward 8 and other parts, just like Ward 8, don't have backyards. And so we have to utilize the resources in and around our communities and by our recreation centers and also our schools. And so we started the education and teaching our babies and our kids that, yes, you can grow. Take the seed, be patient, water it. And it's a whole learning process about agriculture that we're missing in this process that we've.
Time is up.
I can't hear what you're saying, brother, at all, bro.
Thank you, Councilmember White. In the spirit of fairness, your time.
And what's the time frame? What's the clock?
It was 1 minute.
Thank you. To go to the heart of your question, we will incentivize anyone that grows their own food. We have city level tax incentives, and we can do that. We really got to, one, not only incentivize, but also identify space. We know that there's a lack of green space in our city now, but we also know that many developments also have acquired space that's a vertical or horizontal development where there can be roof gardens and those sorts of things. So we will explore all options, especially on a city that's been heavily gentrified like DC. But I think the big catalyst here is providing tax incentives to those that actually grow their own produce.
Thank you, Commissioner Butler. Okay, to your point on gentrification, right? We are seeing a displacement of the very people who have built this city, Chocolate City, many of whom are still here holding it down in Ward 7 and Ward 8 and beyond. So what will you do to hold space for Black futures through wellness, economic activity, and community-driven initiatives in DC? Councilmember Trayon White.
Thank you. As a candidate for mayor, my job is to take some of the initiatives I already started working on as an elected official now across the city. I created a bill that speaks to the displacement free zones that's designed to freeze the taxes in and around areas hardest hit by development. If you look at 8th Street, U Street, 14th Street, Pottsville, Georgia Avenue, you see that as we built up this fantastic, beautiful city, that most people that were there originally, like you stated, no longer live there. And you can say the same for a lot of the businesses. So it's important that we save these businesses by empowering them to own their own buildings, even though they had a store there or a business there, not all own their own buildings. So we work in partnership with other council members to save some businesses here in Ward 8. I want to take that same leadership across the district to leverage our relationship with Wells Fargo to own businesses right here in our community. And I think that's important to ensure equity and longevity in our communities.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Councilmember White, Councilmember Robert White.
Yeah, so the first thing that we have to do is stop displacement of Black neighborhoods, residents and businesses included. We have to invite neighbors into the development process. Stop treating communities as blank slates for trying to paint something for new people to move into, and create what is missing in the neighborhoods that already exist for the people who are already there. One of the focuses I've had as a council member is preventing displacement of Black businesses. That's why I worked hard and used an unprecedented move to help 3 Ward 8 businesses purchase their buildings so that they would not be displaced. This is something that we can replicate, but we also have to do work that I've already started on the council. When we see new industries opening up, we always have to carve out space on the ground level for businesses of color, like in the marijuana industry.
Thank you. Commissioner Butler.
And this is something I've talked about and have pushed for long ago. And that is any new development happening anywhere in the city. I have said that a Black-owned or minority-owned business on the ground floor is something that is critical and that we will ensure happen. As your mayor, part of our business community is part of our community. And that's where the gentrification begins, in the business community and the churches. And we will ensure that any new development is required to carve out space for an artist, coffee shop that is Black owned. You get the sense of a business of that life. In addition to that, we need to ensure that our CBEs are actually going to people of color. Right now, 90% of those are not going to people of color. As your mayor, I will ensure that we have a full audit of every single department in DC to ensure that the monies are going where they should be going.
Thank you. So just as a quick thing, Commissioner Butler, are you suggesting when you had said we need to get people moving? Could you elaborate on what that?
Yes, I will. I'm a nearly 50-year-old man that still runs about 40 miles a week. I'm uber healthy, and knock on wood, I hope that I remain that way. I can tell you a large part of my good health is because I move. I exercise daily. I run daily. I believe that in conjunction with using good, fresh produce and making that accessible for our residents, we can use organizations like Fit DC, and then also an organization, We Fit DC, that's run by a gentleman over in Ward 8, Joe Houston. I've attended a number of his free workshops where they go out in the community and they get people moving. That in conjunction, you can bring the produce right to the exercise venue. I mean, I don't know that there are many better ideas than that to really get people using food in conjunction with moving.
Okay, thank you. And for Councilmember Robert Wright or Trayon Wright, I think this intersects with some of the conversations around holistic health education as well as holistic health infrastructure. Each of you at this point have spoken to work that you have done to this end, and I was wondering if we could elaborate on how. I'm sorry, my what should we call it? My sacred rage kicking up. I gotta on how the intersection between that holistic health in terms of the food intersects with physical education. Is that what you're saying, brother? Mr. Butler, respectfully.
Okay, I'm going to make sure that I understand your question, because I thought you were propounding a question upon one of the two council members, and then it seemed to have come back to me, but perhaps I'm mistaken. So can you just restate the question for me?
Oh, yes. So how does Get People Moving address the holistic issues within the community? I'm sorry.
Well, I do think, so your initial question to me was talking about using food as medicine. And I added an additional thing that in addition to closing the gap of food availability for produce, that we would do that by community gardens and then food sharing. But then I added another one, that I would get people moving. I think it does close the gap of using food as medicine, because I don't think food alone is enough to do it. I think people moving and exercising, the data, the science shows, in conjunction with a proper diet, is the way you lower instances of diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, and those sorts of things.
Thank you. I just want to
You're welcome.
Acknowledge that I did ask a question to other people, and I'll direct the question back to Commissioner Butler. My apologies. Okay. We learn and we grow.
No problem. Thank you for the question.
Councilmember Trayon Wright, would you like to?
Yes, thank you. I believe personally that we are what we eat. And historically in our community, we find that in marginalized, poor communities that we are eating food that's detrimental to our health because it's the cheapest. I know I grew up on hot dogs and pork and beans, bologna and cheese, ooza noodles, steakums, and all those processed foods led to a lot of high blood pressure, diabetes, and death in my family. In fact, my immediate family. And so as I grow older and as I think about leadership as a mayor, we have to re-educate our community on what healthy living is, and that includes exercise. I heard that We Fit mentioned we start our partnership with Mr. Houston and Joe Houston. We started in Ward 8 with also Fit DC with Georgetown. We started that right here in Ward 8. When we did the We Ride the Bikes in 8 at 8, that started right here in Ward 8. And so that's the type of leadership I want to take throughout the city to ensure that we are not just eating healthy, we're moving healthy, and we're thinking about how to create a healthy village where people are having dialogues, Zooms, and conversations about healthy living all around the board. We can build a healthcare system with the hospital, but we must also build a healthcare system with our eating habits and our curriculums in and out of the schools and our communities.
Councilmember Robert White.
Yeah, I think we have pretty well touched on the importance of food, nutrition, and exercise. And I think everyone here agrees on it. What we have to remember is that people can't exercise outside if they're dodging bullets. And folks across our city, particularly in the places most likely to have food deserts and food apartheid, people are telling us they're afraid to go outside, that they're afraid to go into their local stores. If you look at the difference between Rock Creek Park and Fort DuPont, what you see is nonstop inequities that mount up over time. Like nobody's going hiking, in on a trail that's not kept up, that's dangerous. Folks aren't going for a walk around their block if they're worried that they might have bullets flying over their head. And so as we pay attention to these health equity issues, we have got to make sure that we're not losing sight of the public safety issue and the maintenance equity issues, the green space equity issues that are plaguing a lot of our communities. Inequity is compounded in our communities, and these issues didn't start recently. They're not simple. Unwinding them won't be simple either. And so we need a mayor who's going to be focused on the task, but also who is rooted in the underlying problems.
Thank you. A question from our community. In 2015, Mayor Bowser established the DC Food Policy Council, and director has since added 2 staff members within the Office of Planning. In 2020, DC hired the first director of urban agriculture. Do you believe the current government structure is effective in addressing the large cross-agency, cross-sector goal of advancing food equity in the district? What changes would you make, if any? Switch it up a little bit. Commissioner Butler.
Thank you. No, I don't believe it's adequate. I believe our government is heavy with cronyism, and I believe literally all 3 of my opponents need to reevaluate their run for office. And I say that with no equivocation. And I'll tell you this because everything that has happened in this city, a lot of it, including the crime, has spiked to a 20-year high under all 3 of their watches. But now let me say this. I'm going to get back to your question. With regards to Mayor Bowser running these programs that's designed, hopefully, to erode food inequity, you can ask yourself the question, and I know the voters know the answer already. The answer is no. They have not been run efficiently. They have not closed the gaps of inequity. And yeah, she is bragging about 1 or 2 grocery stores that we've gotten east of the river. That is because of failed leadership.
Thank you. Councilmember Robert White.
We have not seen a lot of productivity from this administration, despite spending a ton of money every single year because this is an administration that doesn't have clear goals. So if you don't have clear goals, you're not going to accomplish anything. This is an administration that appoints people based on their donations, their connections, and their political loyalties, which ensures that you do not get the best and brightest people leading all of our agencies, but you get yes people and cronies, and a lot of talented people have seen these boards and commissions go round in circles, not accomplish anything. And so a lot of folks who have demands on their time pull out because they see an administration not accomplishing anything. What I'm suggesting is we can't afford to do this for 4 more years. We have the money to solve problems. people
seconds.
across our city want us to lean in to solve problems. We need a leadership who is going to, a leader who's going to be focused on solving problems. What you will see from me is a tremendous difference in how our government operates.
Time. Thank you. Councilmember Trayon White.
Yes, to answer the question, I think that this administration has not done enough through several initiatives to address the inadequacies across the district, including the food disparities in the district. I do note that one of the reasons why I and build coalitions with the people, I think even what you are doing tonight in this Zoom to talk about it and create some solutions and dialogue about it on a platform with the mayoral candidates is essential to building that base of what's needed. We have in Ward 8 called the Ward 8 Health Council. It comprises over 112 organizations that advises me on what to do in the health space. And I want to expand that throughout the city to ensure that organizations like that are on this call tonight. I see Kimon, Prashona, yourself, and other organizations here that give a voice that's on the ground in the trenches about how we can empower you to be solutions in your own community. And sometimes that exists outside of government.
Thank you. Another question from our community. With the establishment of Whole Foods on 8th Street Northeast and 8th Street Southeast, which caters to middle-class income households, what plans are in place to assist the growth of other grocery options that cater to low-income households? Councilmember Trayon White. Oh, my bad.
You said what plans are in place to do what?
To assist with the growth of other grocery options that cater to low-income households.
Well, we have a number of bills right now that support minority businesses in East of the River. I'm not sure if this is an East of the River question, but we can expand it throughout the district that speaks to empowering businesses. And as I stated before in my previous opening, is that I have led the effort into ensuring that small businesses have access to get grants and loans from the government. And I want to leverage that in our relationship with Wells Fargo. They're making trillions of dollars off our billions of dollars stored up in its banks. And so we have to use that relationship to leverage and get resources to our businesses and local communities so they can stay and grow. During this pandemic, we saw that there were a number of small businesses that went out of business. And it's our job to ensure that we can lift them back up because we know, one, they hire from the community, and two, they provide an essential resource, and that's food right here in our community. We have to have what that's not something that we want, that's something that we need. And so it's imperative as a mayor that I utilize the tools in my toolbox to keep those businesses in business and keep people to work and provide those resources in the community.
Thank you. Councilmember Robert White.
Unfortunately, that there aren't real plans in place to do what you're suggesting. This administration has continued to sort of bang its head against the wall, trying the same old 35-year-old tactic to get grocery stores to communities where they haven't been. And that has caused us to lose decades of progress. As I said earlier, I think really where we have to be focusing are smaller, community-oriented grocery stores that are affordable for the communities that they serve. Again, preventing health inequities costs us a lot less. And so what I want to see us do as a city is stop spending all of our time triaging the emergency that is in front of us and start spending some of our time addressing the underlying issues that keep getting us here to these health disparities, to this inequity. Until we change focus, we're just going to keep spending a lot of money, spinning our wheels and not making any progress.
Thank you.
I really believe the city needs a full reset, a fresh set of eyes to really look at this. We've been playing musical chairs with the mayor's office for far too long at this point. What we need is to incentivize grocery stores in a way that it hasn't been done before. I know people that have spent all their life and been a career politician, and I see them shaking their head, no, it can be done, but you gotta be tough enough. You got to be hard enough on these people as mayor of the city to ensure that what they will do is come in our city and go towards that they previously have tried to refrain from going. That is about political will and political capital. And I can tell you, people that spend their whole life in it, they don't know it because they learn to say no.
Thank you.
Can I rebuttal to that, man?
From our community, DC has the highest rate of senior food insecurity in the country. What are the candidates' specific plans to address this critical food and health equity issue?
Brother Jules?
Yes, indeed.
Councilmember Trayon White asked if he could rebut that.
Oh, didn't hear the question.
I said career politicians. I didn't say anyone by name. I said career politicians.
That's okay. Feel free to rebut, Councilmember White. Councilmember Trayon White.
I'm gonna go ahead and digress because it's fruitless, pun intended.
I'll say something if it's all right. You know, what we don't need is somebody selling pipe dreams. You know, if you just keep banging your head against the same wall and somehow hoping that some day that wall is going to come down, you know, that's ridiculous. What people are depending on us to find an answer. And so when you find that one path doesn't work, you had better take a different path. Otherwise, you're going to be Sisyphus trying to roll this boulder up the hill forever. And so it's easy to talk about career bureaucrats and yada, yada. That's talking points. But real talk, these folks, these corporations aren't coming to our neighborhoods. And it doesn't matter how tough you think you are, they're not coming. And so if you want to get fresh foods to our communities, you've got to find a path and stop trying the same method that doesn't work.
Real talk is clearly they've spent a lot of collective years, 30 plus, trying something and they have very little accomplishments. That's real talk.
Mr. Butler, with all due respect, you talk about these career politicians in these 30 years. And the reality is that you're not a career politician or because you haven't been elected. You've ran. You're a career candidate. You ran several elections, just haven't won. If you won, one day you'd be a career politician. I just wish you stopped saying it because it's corny.
Several, if you go back and get a remedial education, you'll know that several usually refers to 3 or more. I run one time. Let the record be very clear.
You're running right now. That's several.
That's 2. No, that's a couple. Several is 3 or more. Look it up.
You're not a career politician because you never won. You can point to words, man. Come on, this will be real, bro. Come on.
Thank you. So DC has the highest rate of senior food insecurity in the country. What are the candidates' specific plans to address this critical food and health equity issue?
Councilmember Trayon White.
I think that some of the questions are very similar. I think we spoke to this. The food inequities speaks to wards like Ward 7 and 8. And when I got in office, again, there was one grocery store serving 80,000 people. Now we have 5 in Ward 8. And so we've already moved the needle because we didn't sit there. But I went to all the council members, including the mayor, to make sure there was additional money in the budget, even when the Good Food Market project was about to fall through. And so that's leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And so we want to expand that type of leadership throughout the ward. I think some of these questions are very similar. And I answer them again for the sake of clarity, but it's not just about talking the talk. Trayon White has historically walked the walk in solutions for my community.
Thank you. So, is it my understanding, just Councilmember White, that your stance is that senior food insecurity specifically is wrapped? Thank you, Councilmember Trayon White. That food, that the food inequities and the health inequities that affect the entire community. Did you have anything in particular about the seniors in the community?
Yes, actually, seniors are suffering from choosing, should they spend the extra income on paying for their medicine that's getting outrageous in price or buying their foods. And so we've committed to was supplement that by partnering with national and local organizations and taking food to seniors and creating different movements and award to get people food. Now that's a heavy feat to follow. So as mayor, I want to ensure that we are leveraging our relationship with the Capital Area Food Bank and other organizations bred for the city to ensure that we can feed our seniors. But it's happening not just with seniors, but an entire community, because just like seniors have to eat, the seniors are feeding families. We know that the seniors have been the backbone to the community. So when you go to grandma's house, it's not just grandma eating, it's the nephew eating, it's the grandson, it's the niece, it's everyone eating off grandmother's little bit of food that she does have, or he has. And so that's critically as important to ensure that the whole family has a ecosystem that works for the community, not just one particular demographic.
Any other thoughts on addressing senior-specific food inequities? Councilmember Robert White, or Commissioner?
Yes, and I hate to be redundant. When I talk to seniors specifically, I've been to more during this campaign, more senior homes in Ward 8 than I have in the entire rest of the city combined. And one of the things I hear too frequently is that at seniors, one, are afraid to go to the store closest to them for safety reasons. Two, there is price gouging. The foods are not fresh. And so those are significant issues. But beyond that, we have a lot of seniors who have transportation issues. We have got to do a better job of getting fresh, healthy foods to our seniors with mobility issues. I believe that we can utilize technology. This is a world in which we are utilizing technology to get food delivered to people's doorsteps. So as we do the work to create smaller grocery stores, we can rely on technology to fill some of that gaps and make it easy for our seniors to get fresh and healthy foods.
I'm going to continue doing what I've been doing all along, even before I began running for mayor, and that is delivering fresh groceries.
Sir, so I just wanted to reiterate the culture that we're seeking to uphold in terms of respect, the culture of humility, the ethic of care, and the empowerment that we discussed. So we just let each other speak, right? Because it's about community voices. The floor is yours, Commissioner Butler.
Okay, I hope I didn't offend any of the rules, but okay. At any rate, I'd like to begin again, if you begin my time, because I think we cut out for a second here. I will continue doing the work that I've indicated that I've done well before I've started running for this race, and that is delivering food, partnering with our grocery stores like Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. That can be done very easily and to little to no cost to the grocer. But in addition to that, we will utilize technological apps like Uber Eats and ensure that we can get groceries to our seniors. But one of the largest components of this is transportation. That is, again, while I'm proud to be the only candidate running for mayor of a major US city, proposing a free rail and bus metro, and also expanding the trolley car from Benning Road down to K Street. That will close the gap of food shortage for our seniors in this city.
Thank you. Okay, so from our family on the WEAC Facebook, coming in live right now. We have a resident from Ward 4 who says, "Greetings, everyone. I'm a Ward 4 resident. In my area, there's food choices, but restaurants are not necessarily healthy choices. It's mostly fast food and carry-out options. What realistic and practical steps, gotta do this justice. What realistic and practical steps would each candidate take to have healthier restaurants, such as Chopped, the Sweet Green, Juice Bars? They had to plug their favorite spots, so there it is."
reports to those businesses that fill gaps, the types of things that are not offered in certain neighborhoods, or types of things that are not offered widely in our city. That way, we're creating an incentive program that really has the effect of pushing these more diverse and healthier options into our neighborhoods without sort of overstepping the role of government and mandating it unnecessarily.
Thank you. Councilmember Tryon White.
Yes, there are a number of development projects that the government is intricately involved with infusing capital to ensure it happens. One of the things I would do as mayor is to ensure that the community drives the process. And that is they have a say-so on what they want to see happen in these projects. One unique thing I've done in a project in Union Square was to allow for anyone who has a minimum of $5 to be able to invest into the project. So essentially, we use the community to become an owner in a project that's going to get immediate equity and build wealth. And so we want to make sure that in various communities like the ladies talking about in Ward, I just left Ward 4 actually, who desires to get more different types of grocery stores in their community, that we build a platform for them to get the way in, have heavy weight of what that project look like, especially a project that the government is involved with, that we're putting their tax dollars into, they should have great weight on what happens, not just the developers.
And we know what businesses are coming to our city. And when these businesses decide to come to our city, and we can work with them, and we will, as your mayor, to ensure that certain neighborhoods are not left out of healthy food options, such as the questioner's Chopped or what other restaurants. These franchises frequently receive some tax breaks or incentives, and we can work to ensure that those neighborhoods that are at a shortage of healthy food options receive those. But also, as your mayor, I will never do this without the input of the neighbors and the demographics in that particular ward or neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you to each of you for sharing your thoughts. At this time, based on our value of respect and empowerment, we also want to uplift the work of the organizations that have sponsored this event and are doing the work in the community. So we're going to take some time and really just uplift that work. We give some folks who came and shared a bit of their time the opportunity to speak. Yeah.
I can start. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, continue.
Okay. So just representing Community Grocery Co-op, we are recruiting members. The idea is to bring in more cooperatively owned, not just any grocery stores, but cooperatively owned grocery stores in Ward 7 and 8. So we are recruiting member owners. So you will be investing. So if you check out our Instagram page, Community Grocery Co-op DC, you can find out more information, see more testimonials from other member owners, and you can click on the membership page as well. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get our representative from Dreaming Out Loud?
Greetings, candidate and moderators. My name is Zachary Curtis. I'm from Dreaming Out Loud. I'm the operations director. Our mission is really about creating economic opportunity in marginalized communities through the food system. And, I'm consistently engaging with council members about and leaders about the political calculus involved in bringing amenities to underserved wards without displacing residents. And so we don't really say that out front, but there's a reason that a grocery store does the math and decides not to come to a neighborhood. We have formulated that. We've talked about how the racial wealth gap affects our work. we're more than just gardens. We're more than just farmers markets. We're literally, an organization focused on creating economic activity in neighborhoods that have been selected to be eliminated from the wealth in this city. So I'd love to hear if you have more. I don't know if we have more time, but I'm really looking at how our organization and how others can look to leadership to really talk about closing the racial wealth gap and making this not just a food issue, but really an economic issue. Thanks.
So, unfortunately, we don't necessarily have time. We want to make sure that we highlight organizations like Genuine Sisters Supporting Sisters that have worked hard to ensure that the community has food and other resources, even during COVID. That work had never stopped. As well as the Poor People's Campaign. So thank you, Zachary, for uplifting not only the social determinants of health as it relates to food access, but the commercial determinants of health, where the traditional model of what people deem profitable or valuable does not include on Black people, and how that exacerbates the racial wealth gap. So at this time, we would like to give each candidate an opportunity to take 1 minute to give a closing comment. Commissioner Butler.
And thank you all to our moderator and to the sponsoring organizations. As was mentioned, I'm James Butler. I'm running to be DC's next and 8th mayor. I'm a proud Washingtonian, happy to be here, happy to share my food equity solutions with you all tonight. I just want to say this: if you do more of the same to the voters, you will get more of the same. This city has experimented a lot with playing musical chairs, recycling politicians from the DC council to the mayor's office, or re-electing mayors. And what has that gotten us? It's gotten us more of the same. Every single metric in this city has gone in the wrong direction, and under the watch of all three of my challengers. Crime is at a 20-year high. We do not have deeply affordable housing. Our homelessness crisis is out of control, and our schools are not making the grade. I'm asking for your vote on June 21st. To learn more, log on to butler4dc.com. Thank you, and God bless you all, and God bless the soon-to-be 51st state.
Thank you. Councilmember Robert White.
I want to thank all of the participating organizations. Again, everyone who tuned in, and my fellow candidates. I'm asking you for your vote to be the next mayor of the District of Columbia on or before June 21st, because this is a pivotal time in our city in one of the most critical elections we've ever had. This is a time in the history of our city where we have the money to solve problems and the will of people to lean in and try new things. What we are missing is a leader with clear and ambitious goals, a leader who sees our community, who listens to our community, and who understands that so many of the problems that we have to solve are things that members of our community are already doing. So we don't need 4 more years of a mayor saying, look at me, let's put my name on everything. We need a mayor who says, look at you, look at these communities, what you are doing, and get the resources from the government to the people on the ground doing the work. That is the type of leadership you will see from me as mayor, and I need your vote to get there.
Thank you. Councilmember Trayon White.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone who put this together. I think it's important that we put people over politics. My name is Trayon White, running for mayor for my city, Washington, D.C. As elected official, I came into office fighting against inequities in D.C., ensuring that we have a foot at the table. Right now, we have a $20 billion budget. We have $120 billion spent already, and we're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. And that's the definition of insanity. My job is to produce. as a council member, I have produced when some of the community organizations and small businesses and co-ops like the Fresh Fruit Factory that's located on Go Hard Road talked about growing their own co-op. Here in Ward 8, we supported it. Now it's here in the ward. And so we not only talk the talk, but we walk the walk through policy and putting people in position of power to win for the people. That's what I represent. I'm the people's candidate for mayor. My history speaks for itself. My voting record is solid on the issue that you care about. So don't wait till June 21st. Go out, put your ballot in today, mail your ballot back in, go to the drop box, go to the in-person voting polls, and vote for somebody you know that's going to be consistent on the front line advocating for you and your interests, and that's Trayon White. Now is the time. Don't just stand there, do something. Put people over politics, and that's Trayon White for mayor, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. So much appreciation, gratitude abound to each of the candidates who come and spoken about food equity, food sovereignty, and kind of building holistic health infrastructure in the district.